Hello friends, myself Dr. Namdev Madne, Department of Chemistry, Sathe College. Today we are going to discussing TYBSc Semester 5 syllabus Analytical Chemistry Paper 4. In that paper 4 we'll discuss Unit 3. In this today's lecture we'll discuss molecular fluorescence and phosphorescence spectroscopy. Content of this topic are Introduction, Theory of Molecular Fluorescence and Phosphorescence Spectroscopy, Jablonski diagram of energy level, factors affecting fluorescence and phosphorescence, relation between fluorescence intensity and concentration, instrumentation of fluorimetry. Now we will see Introduction. Many compounds absorb ultraviolet and visible light and undergo electronic transitions from low electronic energy level to high electronic energy level. This absorption of light requires 10 raised to minus 15 seconds. The energy absorbed is instantaneously re-emitted as a visible light of longer wavelength than that absorbed. This phenomenon is called as fluorescence. But the delayed re-emission of absorbed energy is called as phosphorescence. Fluorimetry is the study of fluorescence and phosphorimetry is the study of phosphorescence. These two techniques are used for the analysis of organic, inorganic and biochemical compounds. Now let us see theory of molecular fluorescence and phosphorescence spectroscopy. In a molecule, there are several electronic energy levels. A molecule absorbs UV and visible light, and an electron undergoes transition from a low energy level to higher energy level called an excited energy level. Let us consider one such transition of an electron from the ground state to the first excited state. For most molecules, the electrons are paired in the ground state, that is, a pair of electrons have opposite spin. Such a state is called the singlet state. The term singlet and triplet states are associated with number of unpaired electrons in a molecule. For n unpaired electrons, there are n plus 1 states of equal energy associated with the electrons. For example, if number of electrons n is equal to 0, then n plus 1 that is equal to 1, that is singlet state. If n is equal to 1, then n plus 1 is equal to 2, that is doublet state. If n is equal to 2, then n plus 2 is equal to 3, that is the triplet state. In the ground state, there are several vibrational energy levels associated with the electronic transitions. When the electron in the ground state absorbs UV light and visible light, it undergoes first excited state. In this excited state, the molecule can be in any one of the several vibrational energy levels. The molecule loses its vibrational energy by intermolecular collisions with the solvent molecules, that is by collisional deactivation, and finally comes down to the lowest vibrational energy level in the excited state. In this lowest vibrational energy level, there is maximum chance of the electron returning to the ground state by losing a photon of light. The molecule may return to any one of the vibrational energy levels in the ground state by emitting light of longer wavelength, which is in the form of visible light. This emission is termed as fluorescence. This is the diagram of fluorescence and phosphorescence. Here in the electronic energy level, there are several vibrational energy levels. The electron in the ground state that absorbs energy, and then it will go to the any one of the vibrational energy levels in the excited state. Then the excited state of the electron, that is of very short period. This excited electron that may return to the ground state by any one of the path. While coming to the ground state, it is going to emitting the light in the form of visible light, that is nothing but fluorescence. Now let us see Jablonski diagram of the energy levels. When a molecule absorbs light energy, the following changes takes place during electronic transitions. When the molecule absorbs incident light energy, it can be raised from the ground state S0 to the excited singlet state S1 and not to the excited triplet state T1. As S0 to T1 is a forbidden transition. If the absorbed energy is more than the bond energy, then the bond splits up and the free radicals are formed, therefore the molecule follows the path A. If the energy is less than the bond energy, then the electron may be raised from lowermost vibrational level of S0 to any vibrational level of S1, then this molecule follows the path B. This transition takes place so rapidly within 10 raised to minus 13 seconds that the nuclei of the two atoms do not have time to take their position. This is nothing but it is called as Franck-Condon principle. The raised electron rapidly drops to lowermost vibrational level of S1 by losing excess vibrational energy, then it follows the path C. This is known as vibrational relaxation. From the lowermost vibrational level of S1, the electron may come back to the ground state S0 by giving out light energy. That is nothing but it is called as fluorescence, that is path D. Fluorescence occurs about 10 raised to minus 8 seconds after the course of light is cut off. If electron changes its spin, it will cross over from S1 to T1 and this is known as intersystem crossing, that is path E. The electron may relax by coming to the lowermost vibrational level of T1, that is path F. Vibrationally relaxed electron comes back to S0 by giving out light energy, that is phosphorescence, that is nothing but path G, or by giving out heat energy, that is nothing but internal conversion, that is path G dash. Now let us see the factors affecting fluorescence and phosphorescence. There are various factors are affecting on fluorescence and phosphorescence. The first factor in that is molecules with conjugated double bonds, that is pi bonds, show fluorescence or phosphorescence. Aromatic and heterocyclic molecules with electron donating groups like OH and NH2 are strongly fluorescent. Electron withdrawing groups like COOH, NO2, N double bond N and the halides decrease fluorescence or sometimes inhibit it together. Heavy atoms like chlorine, bromine and iodine cause the unpairing of electrons. As a result, the singlet state gets converted into a triplet state and the chances of fluorescence occurring are greatly reduced. Some groups like NH4 positive, SO3H and alkyl groups do not have any effect on both fluorescence and phosphorescence. The introduction of an atom of higher atomic number into a pi electron system decreases fluorescence and increases phosphorescence. Now let us see the relationship between fluorescence intensity and concentration of the solution. The absorbance A of the solution is given by Beer-Lambert's equation. A is equal to log to the base 10 I0 upon IT, that is nothing but that is equal to epsilon CL, where I0 is the intensity of incident light, IT is intensity of transmitted light, C is the concentration of solution kept in a cell of length L, and epsilon is the molar absorptivity of the absorbing substance. From above equation, the intensity of transmitted light IT can be written as IT is equal to I0 into 10 raised to minus epsilon CL, that is equal to I0 into 10 raised to minus of A. Hence, the intensity of light absorbed is given by I absorption, that is equal to I0 minus IT, that is equal to I0 minus I0 into 10 raised to minus A, that is equal to I0 we are taking common, therefore I0 into 1 minus 10 raised to minus A. The intensity of fluorescent light F is directly proportional to the intensity of absorbed light. that is F is directly proportional to IEB. Therefore, F is equal to K into I absorption, where K is constant of proportionality, and further F is equal to K into I0 into 1 minus 10 raised to minus of A. On expanding this equation, we get F is equal to Ki0 into square bracket 2.303A minus 2.303A bracket square upon 2 epsilon plus 2.303A bracket square upon 3 epsilon minus 2.303A bracket raised to 4 upon 4 epsilon plus dash dash dash. At low concentration, the absorbance A is small, and hence the above equation can be approximated to F is equal to K into I0 into 2.303A, that is equal to Ki0 into 2.303 into epsilon Cl. For a given absorbing system, epsilon I0 can be taken as constant, and therefore the equation becomes as F is equal to K dash into C, where K dash is equal to Ki0 into 2.303 epsilon L. Therefore, from this equation, it is clear that fluorescence is directly proportional to concentration of the solution. Similarly, the intensity of phosphorescent light can be related to the concentration of the solution by the equation P is equal to K dash I0 into 2.303 epsilon L, and hence phosphorescence is directly proportional to concentration. Thus, there is direct relation between the intensity of fluorescent light or phosphorescent light and the concentration of the absorbing solution. This relationship is strictly applicable for dilute solutions whose concentrations are of the order of a few milligram per dm cube, that is in ppm. A graph of fluorescence intensity or phosphorescence intensity versus concentration of a series of standard solutions of known concentration is a straight line graph passing through the origin. From the calibration curve, the concentration of an unknown solution can be determined. Now let us see instrumentation of the fluorimetry. Fluorescence intensity measurements are done using an instrument called as fluorimeter. The single beam filter fluorimeter and double beam filter fluorimeter, there are two types of the fluorimeter. Now let us see the single beam filter fluorimeter. In this, the beam of light travels in a single optical path, which is the most commonly used instrument. Light from a mercury vapor lamp passes into a primary filter, which allows only the UV light to pass through and absorb the visible light. The UV light is then enters the sample holder, where it is absorbed by the sample, and the absorption is followed by the emission of visible fluorescent light by the molecules of the sample. Then the beam emerging from the sample holder contains the fluorescent radiation and the original UV light. This beam emerges at right angles to the direction of the incident beam. The secondary filter now allows only fluorescent radiation to pass through while it absorbs the UV light. The fluorescent light emits electrons from the photocathode of a photomultiplier tube. The resulting electric signal is sent to a readout device on which the fluorescence intensity can be directly read. So this is the single beam filter fluorimeter and the optical path. Now let us see the double beam filter fluorimeter. In a double beam filter fluorimeter, two identical beams coming from a specially designed mercury vapor lamp pass into the solvent, that is blank, and the sample. The two beams emerging from the blank and their sample then passed through a common secondary filter, which allows only the visible fluorescent light to pass through and fall on the photomultiplier tube. The use of a double beam eliminates errors due to changes in the intensity of the incident beam due to voltage fluctuations. In more sophisticated spectrophlorimeters, grating monochromators are used instead of a filters to ensure the dispersion of light into individual wavelengths. A high pressure xenon arc is used as a source of radiation. The electron current produced in the photomultiplier tube is amplified and the amplified electric signal is sent to a readout device. This amplification enables the detection of small amount of substances whose fluorescence is very low. Hence, spectrophotometers can be used for the sensitive and fast analysis of trace materials in samples. For example, metallic impurities in steel. Thank you.